Okay? Greetings. I think it's a great idea to have this reunion that you're going to, and I wish I could be there with you. However, I'm 95 and travel is no longer on my agenda. So I thought today to be there with you in spirit, I would record a few things about Millicent and myself that might be of interest to you. I hope. Anyway, Millicent and I were married in 1946. I was in Columbia Law School and she was in Smith studying social work. She had in her life been a singer. She'd been in church choirs from the time she was 10. And she did that after we were married, right up until she was 1960, when she developed a problem with her vocal cords, sort of like arthritis. I was told she couldn't sing anymore. So she, about the same time, came down with Legionnaire's disease. I was going to be in bed for 2 or 3 weeks, so she decided that she would try painting. To her surprise, she was very good at it, had a real knack for it. And when she had enough for a showing, we put on a little show in a library up in North Conway, New Hampshire, that was very well received. And after the show, we photographed all her paintings and sent the photographs off to your mother, Phyllis, for comment, because Phyllis had studied art at university and was a competent artist herself in batik. And we went off to Mexico. We had been down to Mexico only about a week when a phone call came from Big Rapids that Phyllis had died. Well, this was a double whammy because we liked Phyllis very much. And Phyllis thought she would not know what she thought of her paintings. However, about a week later, a fat envelope came from Big Rapids, and Phyllis was returning the photographs of the paintings, and with it was a long letter commenting on them, all very favorably. Well, this was a great boost to Millicent's spirits because this sort of confirmed her as a beginning artist. Let me go back to our marriage. We had, as I said, met and married in 1946 and found that we decided to elope. We couldn't get married in New York City because we couldn't meet the residency requirements. But I used my references at Columbia Law School and found that we could in Maryland. So we took a train ride to Annapolis, Maryland, picked up a phone book, picked out the name of a minister, and called him, and he said, "Come right on over." And we went over, and he took us into the parlor of his house. His wife came as witness, and when she wasn't in the room, she was in the kitchen between the doors doing the laundry, which we could hear the machine going all the time. And a small boy sat down watching the ceremony, tossing a football up and down throughout the ceremony. At the end of it, the Reverend told us that he was giving us a nautical ceremony because he was an ex-merchant marine captain. And then when he tied a knot, it didn't slip, it jammed. At the end of the ceremony, I said to him, "Reverend, what do I owe you?" And he said, "Whatever you think that little girl is worth to you." Well, I gave him $10. Had I given him any more, we couldn't have had dinner that night in Annapolis. Well, we left Annapolis and went back to New York City to the apartment that I had in Hell's Kitchen, in this tenement I was sharing with another law student. We stayed there until another apartment in a tenement became available, and we rented it. Living on the GI Bill of Rights, the rent of that apartment was $32 a month, and we could barely afford that, but we did. And we were living there in 1947, and we had just had a baby, Christopher. And we went on, took a train up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to your house. I'm sure you don't remember us, but on Christmas Day, Mills and I were still in a bedroom when three little figures came in, dressed in dressing gowns and white cloths tied over their heads. And Michael said that they were the wise men coming to see baby Christmas fur. And now, 70 years later, Christmas fur has come to see you all in this reunion. As I said, Wilson had been a singer in her youth, but she got the arthritis, couldn't sing anymore, and started her painting career. And she was very, very good at it. We sent these paintings to Phyllis for comment, and she found it very encouraging. And she did that up to the time of her death, her painting. Skip forward to 2013, Millicent was ill, quite ill, and was in the infirmary area of our retirement community. And she was under hospice care. You're not, when you're not expected to live very long. And Chris had come out to be with her. Mark came over as often as he could. And on the day in question, I was sitting along with Chris in her room. We had been talking about this and that, and she was sitting up in her bed. We weren't sure that she remembered what was going on, but at some point I got up to go somewhere and walked by the end of her bed where she was facing, and she looked up and just came up erect, great big smile came on her face, a beautiful smile, looked like she was 20 years younger. And she said, "Hi." And the last words that I spoke with her, because that evening, the hospice clerk called me to say that she had died, and asked me if I wanted to go over and see her before they took her body away. I said no. I had the image in my mind that I wanted to remember, and that was the last we saw of her. Well, I'm going to stop with an invitation for all of you at this reunion. If your life brings you to Austin, Texas, please stop and see me. I have an unlisted phone number, but I'm giving Mark a few copies that has the correct number on it. And he also has a book with him with pictures of many of her paintings and give you some recollection. If you stop by, I'd be glad to take you to dinner and sit down and talk with you and learn about your life and your family. So with that, I just wish you a very happy reunion. Is that okay? Some thoughts about my brother Ralph, who I know would have loved to be at this reunion with you. As a young man, a young boy, he studied magic. He was a pretty good magician. Sleight of hand work, but he had various tricks and things. I think his best trick was he talked me out of my minuscule allowance to help him buy more tricks. And some of the bigger ones he called illusions, and he gave shows at places like the Veterans Hospital and so forth. And his favorite trick was this big box. I don't know if he made it or got it, bought it or what, but it would fold up apparently to show it all the way through, nothing in it. He would toss in a red and white and blue handkerchief, close it all up, say the magic words, tap it with his wand, open it up again, and there I would be, dressed up in an Uncle Sam suit, red, white, and blue with a big tall top hat. We did that a number of times. It was kind of fun. The other thing I remember, we would visit when we were both adults, and he liked to fish, and he liked to eat fish. This one time I was with him, he took me out to a small lake. We rented a boat and went out and fished, and it was great fishing. We caught a number of sunfish and perch and whatnot. A whole stringer full when it began to rain, pour down. So we rowed to shore and shelter, got out. When we went back and the rain stopped, the stringer was still attached to the boat, but there's nothing but fish heads on it. The snapping turtles had cleaned it out fully, completely. One of the things I remember that he liked to do on occasion was cook. He made very good chop suey. That was his favorite. And I think the whole family liked that a lot. Only problem was, Phyllis complained that he used every pot in the kitchen when he made it, and left it for her to clean up. Also, mainly, we were not particularly close because we were quite a difference in our ages. And I used to visit them on Christmas time. And this is when I came with my new bride, and we were at his home, your home, up in Pennsylvania. And that was always a joyous occasion. He was a photographer, and he used to take films of all the people there and trains going around the Christmas tree and whatnot. And I remember on one occasion he went through the whole act and then stopped in amazement because he'd forgotten to take the cap off the camera. Well, that's about all I can say about him, but I think he was a very nice person, and I think he and Phyllis were a great combination. So continue with your enjoying at your getting together, and I'm sure it must be a very nice occasion.